I mean, this is why I came back for this team and to beat Ohio State. This has been a focus of ours since January, and it's crazy to think that now we're in week 12 and we're about to play them, and if we win, we're going to the Big Ten championship. If not, see you later. So there's a lot riding on it, but it's I think guys in our locker room and guys, we just practiced. I mean, we're all bought in. We're all ready to go. And a lot of teams play them scared and play them fearful. I think just looking back at some of the teams that they played, but it's like I think a lot of the guys understand. We know that it's just give it everything we got, sell out, because this is the last time we're stepping in the big houses here. So I don't think you're going to be seeing a lot of scared or fearful play from us on Saturday.
All right, good afternoon. Welcome to this afternoon live. That was Aiden Hutchinson. And it was a great question, and it was posed by the person you see there on the screen right now. If you're watching, Angelique Chengelis from the Detroit News, who joins us here on this afternoon live. Angelique, how are you?
Yeah, that was a really penetrating question, wasn't it, Dennis? But you know what? It is a simple question, but when you ask someone like Aiden Hutchinson, who grew up here, whose father was an All-American and had, I believe, I think he was 4-0-1 against Ohio State. It courses through his veins, and I asked him. It was just a simple question, and I think Aiden shared in that response who he is and how much emotion he has for this game, but also his perspective. So I thought that really encapsulated who he is.
Well, there were like 10 questions before that, and they didn't get the answer that you did. Sometimes, I don't care what the question is. I care about the response, and you got the great response. And, speaking of great, you've had a great week, Angelique. I've noticed your work. I've always admired your work here, but you really have. You've gone out and you had the story with Blake Corum and giving back. And I love the quotes in the story, the one that jumps out. I got it right here. It's all about giving back. Can I start there, ask you about, because you got home from Maryland. Somehow you were able to get out there and meet up with Corum and Nakai Hill Green. And that story is really taken off. I even see it nationally on Good Morning America. It's splashed everywhere. So great job on that.
Well, Dennis, it really was. I had heard about this a week or so ago, and when I landed from Maryland, I'm like, I really need to get home. I live an hour away, and I'm like, but Ypsilanti's really close, and I know Blake Corum's doing this. I went to his first location. I saw the tent that was set up with all the turkeys and everything, but I didn't see him. Then again, I'm like, it's raining, it's cold. I'm like, all right, I should just get home. And then I'm like, no, it's a few miles away. So I drove over there, and I went out and spoke to the people who were operating the tent, and Blake did eventually show up, as the video shows. And I'm grateful I did it. This is a time to be grateful, and I'm grateful because it is nice for people to see nice people do nice things. And in this case, he's an athlete at the University of Michigan. There's all this angst about NIL, name, image, likeness, and players getting money. Oh, it's going to ruin the sport. And then you see a selfless act like that, taking some of his money and buying turkeys. It was matched. So there were 200 turkey dinners given out that day in Ypsilanti in two pretty impoverished areas. And it was, it really, I said that quote spoke to Aiden Hutchinson. This action spoke to who Blake Corum is. And the story, I don't think the story went crazy, but the video has like 2.1 million views, and every national organization, CNN, ESPN, they've all asked for permission to use it. So, of course, gladly pass that along.
Well, you know what? A video that's got more than 2.1 million views was The Spot back there in 2016. And you also did a story on that. And you know what? It's very emotional. Like, just thinking about.
I see you're holding your hands like that, too, as you're talking.
No, that's right. It could have gone a million. It could have gone either way there, but when you start asking people about that, you feel the emotion come out about this game, right?
You do, and I've thought about that moment since 5 years ago, and it was just such an amazing moment on so many levels, Dennis. I mean, the officials. We talked a lot about the officiating after the Michigan State game, and I still contend that they need to, especially if it's a game where there's some controversy, make an official available for a pool reporter at least to ask questions, because you got coaches answering questions, you got players, and here are the officials. But that's an aside. But everyone talks about the game, and I would always laugh when I'd see Chris Wormley just tweet randomly, hashtag JT was short or he was short or something like that. And this summer I started thinking about it, and I reached out to one of the officials who is now retired, and I was surprised that he got back to me. And he was very candid about his take on that. And of course, they back up their decision on the field. And I spoke to JT Barrett, and I thought his comments were pretty interesting. And I got the sense that they ruled it, but he didn't know for sure. And he said every other first down he had to get in his career, he knew it, but that one, not so sure. But it was fun because I think it is a play that people are going to talk about. A finish to a game, a near finish. The next play obviously ended that game, but I thought it was just really fun to listen to the responses to that.
Well, the way things were going for Harbaugh there in the first year, and then getting to there's a lot of people, whether maybe not so much in a downward slope, but a plateau. I know there's a lot of people that have made that case, and you can understand why. I mean, they were that close to winning that game. They could have, and they didn't. I always look to the play before that where they had Curtis Samuel pinned 5-6 yards back. The field goal kicker wasn't all that hot that day, and somehow he squirmed out. I mean, you had Peppers right there. It was the Big Ten Player of the Year. It had him right in his grasp. And Samuel's a pretty good player. He was able to wiggle all the way and set up that JT Barrett play. So I mean, there's a lot of different things you start thinking about.
And that's a great point. I mean, we can lock in on one play, but there were so many plays, so many calls, so many non-calls, I think Jim Harbaugh would say, in that game. But you do focus on this one. Was he short? JT was short, whatever you want to say. But there were so many other plays in that game where, Michigan could have pulled away and put that one away. But and another layer is, and you mentioned Jim Harbaugh, that was his second year. I mean, if they win that game, does that change the Jim Harbaugh narrative? I think it does. I mean, he gets that elusive win over Ohio State, and maybe some of these 5 stars who are picking Ohio State pick Michigan. So, it's the what if game, but we know what transpired and how it's been since.
Yeah, I know there's a national narrative, probably a local narrative, like Harbaugh, can't beat Michigan. Of course, he hasn't beaten Ohio State, so you understand that. And so if he wins, does he keep it going? I don't know how much of that this coaching staff or this team is buying into, but one thing I'm buying into, Angelique, is that Michigan has a pass rush and they have a pretty good secondary, and Ohio State has this great passing game, and there's the path if you're looking for Michigan to have a chance in this game. They have a chance with the kind of pass rush that they have.
I agree. I mean, I think they have a chance. They've got Aiden Hutchinson. They have David Ajabo, as you're pointing out. And those guys have really been disruptive to pretty much everybody they've played. And going back to that quote from Aiden that you led the show with, I mean, this means everything for him. I mean, this is what his career is coming down to in so many ways. This is his legacy. And the season has been his legacy and changing the culture and all of that. But I think they are equipped. Now, Ohio State's equipped in many ways, though. I mean, they've got a pick your poison situation there. They've got a terrific running back in Henderson. They've got some really good tackles on this offensive line. And then you've got the 3 receivers, obviously, and you have CJ Stroud. So, I mean, there are so many pieces there. But if you're going to do the comparison thing, I mean, Michigan State obviously got blown out last week. I just don't see that happening to Michigan. For the reasons you said, they've got better pieces on defense, and I don't know if it's enough to beat them, but I think it can slow this offense more than it's been slowed since that Oregon game.
Yeah, and if I was looking, I'll ask you what you think of my game plan for Michigan's success. Like, I don't think they can stand toe-to-toe offensively, and they've got to do what has brought them here, and that's a lot of ground and pound and play off of that running game and not give up so many big plays. They're going to give up some, but you'll know if they can keep it close in the fourth quarter and then, make some plays like they did against Penn State. They both the offense and defense in the final 6 minutes, and then the defense in the final 3.5. that seems to me to be the recipe for the upset on Saturday. What do you think of that game plan?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I keep saying, one thing, Michigan's special teams have been very good this year. And I think that's another element to this game that, they've been very consistent in the kick game, but also in the return game. And I think that's an element that has to be considered too in this one, that could be a difference maker. You never know. I mean, Jake Moody has been dreaming about winning a game like this on his foot. And I don't think Michigan fans wanted to come down to that, but I think that they're very capable. And, I think the other ththing about this team, Dennis, that it's been, people have criticized Harbaugh teams is that, they've lacked that finishing, the fourth quarter, but even November, it's just been tough. And I think that Penn State game really showed, to use a Jim Harbaugh word, their grit. And I think a lot of that comes from Cade McNamara. And I know that there's still a lot of people who want to see JJ McCarthy out there taking over the reins and all of that, but Cade has become supremely confident. And I think that can only bleed into the team, the offense. And he gives them that confidence too, that, yeah, okay, there was a strip sack late, but he came back and directed a winning touchdown drive at Penn State. And I just think when, you look back at this season, no matter how the Ohio State game turns out, I thought that was a pivotal moment for this program.
I agree with you. And there you are talking about it coming down to a foot, about that much, right? So, spot, a kick. It'll be exciting. You have had a great week, the writing stories here, the spot, the giving back here. If I missed anything, are you taking Thursday off, Thursday and Friday, and then showing up on Saturday? What's your game plan yourself personally with fighting or anything else? You're going to take a little bit break and then show up Saturday? What's the game plan?
I have a lot of cooking to do, Dennis. I have to take care of those things too. But I've got a couple more things I'm working on. I'm going to write about Aiden Hutchinson for Friday. And, I've been covering this beat so long that I covered Chris Hutchinson his senior year. And now it's come full circle. So kind of tying a little bow on that, the Hutchinson package. And, and a couple other things that, we do every week. But I hope to take Thursday off and eat more.
Well, I'll be reading all of your coverage. And if I see any pictures on your Twitter feed there it is at Chengelis, I will be sure to retweet, any kind of Thanksgiving pictures. So,
Dennis, thank you. Thank you. And I hope you have a great Thanksgiving.
You too. Thank you for your time. I know you're very busy this week, and enjoy Thanksgiving and the game on Saturday.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
All right. See you, Angelique. Thank you. There she is, Angelique Chengelis, covering Michigan football. We're going to keep this going here. A guy who I was just told that had a sack his first time that he was playing in Michigan Stadium, had a sack. His last game at Michigan Stadium is our next guest, and there you see him on the screen. Jim Scarcelli in the last game was 85 against Ohio State, and Scar, you got a sack of the Buckeye quarterback, which is going to be, the one of the big keys tomorrow, being able to get pressure on C.J. Stroud. So, do you remember? Was it Carsadis? Is that who the QB was in 85 that you got the sack of?
Yeah, I remember like it was yesterday. I played outside linebacker, so we would rush, drop. Coach Mo would always mix it up. You didn't know who was coming, who was dropping. And most of the game, our scheme was I was in coverage. Kind of a little frustrated with it because I thought I could beat their tackle. And finally, the last play of the game, they're putting a little drive together, and he runs a stunt where I come off the edge and beat their tackle, made a play, and that was my last play at Michigan Stadium, a sack on the Buckeye quarterback, and we won the game. Big game.
Well, and people looking to Saturday, this is one of the spotlight matchups when you get 55 and 97 going up against the tackles here for the Buckeyes, and knowing the outstanding wide receivers that Ohio State has, and C.J. Stroud, and just what he's been able to do delivering the ball over the last couple of weeks. He seems like, he just keeps getting better out there. Looks like he's the Heisman front runner. Scar, you played the position here of Hutchinson and Ajabo. Break down that matchup a little bit on when Ohio State has the ball and you're an outside linebacker, you're Hutchinson and Ajabo, and if they really can change this game by getting to the QB.
I'll tell you, Danny, their offensive line is huge. They are big, athletic, and I think they are very good pass protectors. I think they're very average run blockers, their offensive line. It's going to be tough to get pressure, just generic one-on-one getting pressure. But if we do the things that Coach McDonald has been doing with scheme, bringing linebackers, bringing safeties, bringing corners, slanting, putting conflict, putting doubt in the offensive line's mind, that's what we got to continue to do to help Ajabo, to help Hutchinson. You do that by putting the offensive line back on their heels, and the coaches have done a great job with that. But their offensive line is very good. Their quarterback is, God, for a redshirt, the kid's a redshirt freshman, he is so accurate. And the receivers get separation. Our secondary has got to be, those windows got to be smaller. We got to make those windows smaller for him. I watched the Michigan State game. The windows were so huge. Anybody can throw in those huge windows. They get so much separation from the secondary. So our secondary has to make those tighter windows and make them have to make good throws. And but they think pass first. The Buckeyes, I think that's just their mentality. They got a great offensive coordinator. He was the former Indiana coach. Kevin Wilson is a good coach. He gives you a lot of problems. He puts the defense in conflict, and they're well coached. But I feel real confident. I don't think we can let them get more than 31 points, Denny. They get over 31. I don't know that we can match that. But if we keep them, in fact, I'm going to give you my prediction right now. Michigan 31, Buckeyes 30. I'm going to give it to you early.
Okay.
But we can't let them get over 31 points.
I was watching the Monday Night Football game. The Giants were down in Tampa, and I was watching the Manning cast, and, Peyton and Eli sitting there, and they brought in Bill Parcells, who had won a Super Bowl when the Giants beat the Bills, and the Bills with Marv Levy had, Jim Kelly and, Andre Reed, and it was an outstanding offense. It was the K-gun, and, Parcells' game plan there was, the time of possession. Give it to Otis Anderson, first down, keep that offense over on the sideline, and they did it. And you know what? I think that could be with what Michigan has. To talk about how it sets up nice for Michigan. At least it sets up where you got to be able to get pressure. Hey, they've got two defensive ends that have had success this year getting to the quarterback. The secondary's played pretty well. You got to feel at least like you got a chance if you're a Michigan fan. On the other side, you can say, well, how can the offense help? Well, it's driving the field 10, 12, 15 play drives that end up getting into the end zone. That could be big. But I thought Parcells said something. Peyton was asking him about that Super Bowl. They had won it actually in Tampa there. And Parcells said it was not only running the ball, it was disrupting the wide receivers and getting them off their routes. Do you think Michigan's corners, from what you've seen with these, do you think that's something that they can get in, whether it's just getting their hands on them or rerouting them or whatever else? You think that could be a key, and Michigan might be able to disrupt those outstanding wide receivers?
Yeah, that was the key thing that he was trying to emphasize, Coach Parcells. I always love listening to him. God, you just brilliant. But that's easier to do when you only have two receivers in the game. When they come out with four wide, you only got so many secondary guys. That's harder to do that, to get and jam and disrupt their routes. But Michigan will have that in their scheme. They do it. They will do that out of their zone coverage sometime, trying to disguise. But it's a great scheme. We've seen it. I've seen it this year from Michigan. But just like anything we do defensively, it cannot be the same thing next time. Just because you saw a certain formation and McDonald said, we're going to do this time, next time they come out, it'll be a different look. You always got to keep the offense and keep their head spinning. And I think we've done a good job with that. And for the most part, we haven't had many mental mistakes. And that's the key thing. When you do a lot of stuff, can you minimize mental mistakes? But you make a good point, Denny, but it's harder to do with four wide. But listen, their scheme, real quick, their scheme it makes it real tough to fool them because they're, everything is out in space. What they want to do more than anybody is get these great athletes in space. There's only so many looks you can give them, with 4 wide in the game. And that's their bread and butter. Throw easy, high percentage passes to athletes in space. Hopefully they make your athlete miss. And those are high percentage, easy to complete passes. But like I said, we got to tackle in space is one of the big keys defensively.
Gus Johnson's going to be on the call on Saturday. Joel Klatt will be the color analyst. Joel Klatt was on a broadcast, the Rich Eisen show, and I pulled 30 seconds of what Joel Klatt had to say about the Buckeyes, and I wanted you to listen to it and respond. Here's Joel Klatt on the Rich Eisen show yesterday.
The games in which Ohio State has struggled a little bit, that's been the only constant, is the fact that Stroud has not been comfortable in the pocket. Make no mistake about it. I know they've got a good back in Travion Henderson and a pretty good offensive line in terms of run blocking, but they're not a running team. This is not a J.K. Dobbins Ohio State or J.K. Barrett, certainly Ohio State, or even a Justin Fields Ohio State. This is a team that resembles much more the Dwayne Haskins version of Ohio State on base downs. So 1st and 10, 2nd and 6 or shorter, base downs, base offense. They're throwing the football about 64, 65% of the time. That's a ton. That's as much as anybody in the country. And the way to get after a team like that, as we see throughout levels of football, when you see Brady in those pass-heavy offenses or Manning back in the day, is to get to them and to get to the quarterback and make him uncomfortable in the pocket.
All right, that's Joel Klatt on the Rich Eisen show. A lot of what you were talking about there, Scar. Anything else that jumped out there? 65% passing, whatever down it is, that's a heck of a lot for a team statistically that is number one passing, number one yards, points per game. I mean, up and down, not just the Big Ten, in the country.
Yeah, a lot of those passes are high percentage bubble screens, jet sweeper. It's just a forward pass. So some of that stuff is deceiving, but yeah, that's what they do. And he's absolutely right. You want to try to get pressure, but again, you've got to do it without putting your secondary in a bind, asking for man coverage and overcommitting to getting pressure. You got to do it still being sound, not asking too much of those guys. So yes, I totally agree with them, but I don't know if he's looked at the size of those offensive linemen and how athletic they are. That this is going to be a task, and we'll mix it up and we'll get our shots at them. But hopefully we tip a few balls. Maybe this week, Denny, like we went to Penn State, there were 3 strip balls. They got every one of them. Maybe this will be Harbaugh's week. Maybe this will be Michigan's time.
Well, what about Harbaugh here? You know what? There have been some games in the past. 2018 comes to mind where, I don't know, I think when it came, even before the game, or maybe some adjustments during the game, that, I don't know, whether it was, Jim himself being out coached or a coordinator or anything else, I don't know if the game plan was as great as it needs to be. It seems like this year they've gone out there and the players have decided it. I know that you're a fan of Mike McDonald and the different things that he brings here. I already talked about the pass rush getting there, what the corners are going to have to do. And on offense, being able to run the ball. Angelique was talking about winning the special teams phase. That sounds like it could be an area where Michigan can come away. They are at home. I mean, are there some other things here that you're looking at where you think that Michigan can have some success and either win with that unit or an individual player or anything?
Denny, Coach Moeller used to say to the defense when he was the coordinator when I played, he said, the thing about defense, the offense can be terrible 70 plays in a row. There's probably going to be 150 plays Saturday. He said the offense can be terrible for 75, 80 plays, and if you have one breakdown on defense, it can be a touchdown. You can lose the game. There's going to be 150 plays Saturday, and, you're absolutely right, about special teams being huge. 1979. Michigan's beating Ohio State up and down the field. They blocked 2 punts to beat Michigan. I don't know if you remember that. You were a young guy then.
What year?
1979. Ohio State blocks 2 punts to win the game. After that, the very first thing every Schembechler, Moeller, Carr coach team, the first thing we did after we warmed up was punt protection. So it could come down to punt protection, punt coverage. We get to the Michigan State game. Who would have thought dropping a punt would be a factor, that our punter's going to drop the ball? But we have been real good. Our punt coverage, our long snapper's been great, just like she talked about. Maybe there's a fake punt that can be a factor in this game that our coaches can fool them on. Our punt return has got to be good. We got to catch the punt. Maybe we can beat them there. You know, we out-coached them and out-executed them on the pass against Maryland, right? Our coaches saw it. Our players executed. Hopefully there's something they're seeing. There's some kind of dent in their armor on their special teams that we can beat them on, that we can make a play on. But if someone told me, okay, look, like I said, I'm a former coach, and I look at there's 150 plays, and you can go wrong or right on any of them in any phase of the game. But it's always going to be turnovers, Denny. We got to win. You know, we want to continue, and I am knocking on wood. We want to continue to secure the ball more than anything. We got to secure the football.
Yeah, well, in '69, you know, they got it was Curtis. They got they were winning 24-12 at half. That ended up
79, Denny. 79 was.
I was talking about 69.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
They got interceptions in that game. That's
right.
Now, special teams is before our time. 36 was pretty big. Harmon came up pretty big on special teams.
Oh, you're going way back.
Well, you know, there's a couple of and Lantry in the 70s. He met that field goal that could have been if they had the goalpost and the uprights where they're at right now. Maybe it would have clanged and gone inside. I mean, it was that close. Woodson had a punt return in '97. That was pretty big. Yeah, like special teams can be a big factor in this one. I wanted to ask you just how much we're talking about the past. And I was reading a story by Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic, and he said he was talking with a former player who said, you know, the coaching staff of the players, you know, they're staying around practice. And he saw the freshmen, whether it was, you know, McCarthy, Donovan Edwards, and Andrell Anthony. Before those guys, everybody knew about McCarthy, but before those guys were even hitting the field, they were out practicing at 3 o'clock in the morning. And this former player had said he noticed the difference in spring or whatever with these guys staying around. And I don't know, like that factor, and I wonder how much it weighs on just how this has been lopsided towards Ohio State, where it weighs into the staff or these players. Because I know the fans, you know, they're tightening up. Ohio State might be in their head, but, you know, what do you think about all that, the past and you know, the players, a different feel here for the players and coaches this year that like they're embracing and everything else. You hear a lot of that stuff, but have you heard any of that?
Yeah, you know, Denny, I'm a little on a different mindset of some of the key reasons for our success. I said this before that the most important hire Jim Harbaugh has ever had, I think, since he's been a head football coach, is who he was going to replace Don Brown with. And you know, I said it before he hired him, because I think we talked about it, that I saw, you know, his defense, you know, working under the guy at Baltimore just crushed the Tennessee Titans. I said, I'm thinking Jim want someone from that staff. So he brings him in. And I'm watching, when I watched the first game of the year, I could tell that we were going to be different defensively. I was loving everything I was seeing. I was seeing strong versus the run. I was seeing strong versus pass, giving people different looks, giving people different problems. Yes, we have good players that are executing, and we're maximizing their talents. We're putting them in position to make plays without putting them in tough situations. So I would say that a Jim Harbaugh coach football team, I don't think Jim forgot how to coach, you know, in the last 20 years in terms of motivating a staff, motivating his players, getting his team ready to play. He made a great selection. Everybody's buying in. But at the same time, we've been now 3 years in this offense. You know, the way I look at it, we were we were a fullback team, you know, I-backs and running those. That was what Jim did with Stanford, did with, you know, the 49ers, did with us early on. And now he has since blended some of the spread scheme in with his power stuff, but we're into it now for about 3 years. So I think we're starting to see the dividends offensively in terms of our players really understanding what we're doing on offense. And we finally have a very accurate quarterback who's not turning the ball over and doing crazy things. And combine that with a lot of experience back on defense, great leadership, Hutchinson and Ross and some of those guys with a scheme that I really like. So that's my view of it. I'd like to think that, all of a sudden this year, this group of players are mentally tougher than I'm not buying that. I'm a little more on the we're experienced 3 years into the offense, and the defensive coach and the scheme, I think it's really, really sound in putting our players in position to win.
If Jim Scarcelli here played linebacker at Michigan, played in Michigan, Ohio State games, if you had to script a few plays off the jump here, I don't know, 5 plays, I know Haskins is going to get the ball in one of those. I think Ohio State thinks it's coming right off the bat, a run right up the middle with 25, maybe a little play off of that, maybe throw the ball. But what if you were scripting 5 plays and you were just putting your 2 cents on that? What are 5 plays that you'd like to see Michigan come out with?
Denny, when I look at these two teams offensively, defensively, pretty similar. Well, and I think we're better on defense than them. But essentially, Ohio State wants to play in a parking lot. We want to play in a phone booth a little more than they do. They don't have some of the formations we have. They're not really a 4-yard grinded out. What would I want from our offense? If I'm defending Michigan, what I want to see is 0 tendencies, trying to figure, because we've had some tendencies, but Maryland was one of the best games we had getting out of the tendencies. I would love to see us, throw on, but we've been throwing it on first down a little more. And we just got to execute. He's got to call good plays. He's going to look at the formation from up in the box. We're going to come out. They're going to look at how Ohio State's lined up, and he's got to make the right calls. And he's been studying it. Our offensive coaches are studying what are they going to do versus us in these formations, and they're trying to figure out a game plan. And those calls are going to be made upstairs, and hopefully, there might be a trick play or two we haven't shown, but if we can get the reverse game, get the power game, get the zone game, get the quarterback keep going, get the pass off some of these normal formations we run out of, I just want to have their head spinning, man. So, to answer that question, Danny, I just want to put their defense in conflict. I want to see offensive linemen that are executing. We're blocking the right guy, and we're moving them off the ball. I look at their defense. I see a lot of highly recruited, very athletic, good. They're big, good players. But again, I don't see some of the playmakers. And I'm hoping. I said it the other day. I'm hoping that their offensive or their defensive coaching staff is average. I think Penn State's defense is better than this defense.
Well, I do know after the Oregon game, they spread some of the responsibilities and play calling out after they, got slapped upside the head by the Ducks. And they've talked about how there's been a lot of improvement on that side of the ball since then. I think with this one here being at home, if they can just keep it close, get it to the fourth quarter, and then you just got to make the plays in the fourth quarter, whether that sounds simplistic or not. That's been my approach on it. Scar, I wanted to ask you, you can add anything else here, but I've got my 2 staples that I always throw out here on this afternoon live, and one is the Michigan Recruiting Spotlight. The other one's the Memorabilia Minute. I'll lean on you for both of them here. Yesterday I was talking with a former Michigan player, and I was discussing there's a 5-star corner that's coming in to visit. He's down to Alabama and Michigan, probably with an Alabama lean. But the thought here by a lot of people that follow Michigan is that, the Wolverines are going to have their last pitch to him on Saturday, and some of it could come down to what kind of package they're presenting with a name, image, and likeness. And the former players I was talking with said, hey, if it's going to come down to money between Michigan and Alabama, go to Alabama. Now, I don't know. Scar, is that your approach too? Like, hey, Michigan doesn't need to be, worried about any kind of name, image, and likeness here, whichever way this is going. It's still about Michigan. Let somebody go somewhere else if it's going to come down to money. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm a retired teacher, and I taught all kinds of kids that come from stressed households. where they had to move every couple months and couldn't pay bills, and electric bills were cut off. And I understand, and I coach kids like that. So I didn't grow up in that kind of an environment. I remember what recruiting was like for me, and maybe those things for me may not have been that important. I don't know that it's a real slap at a kid's character for be interested in trying to find a way to provide for his family. So I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle on that thing. I'm not going to knock a kid for being in a position to make sure mama doesn't get or mom and dad don't get the electricity cut off or phone cut off or put food on the table. So I would like to think that we can compete in all ways with what the enemy's doing out there. Right? We talked about Michigan State giving $500 a month. I think that's going to be a factor with some kids. Some guys like you and me and our how we were raised, it might not matter, but other guys, we might lose kids because of that. And we have to. You just got to be open-minded. Everybody's values are different.
Good answer. The memorabilia minute, I've got some stuff sitting around here, but you know what, Scar, you're on. I look at the back, you brought a helmet out from the Fiesta Bowl the other day. What else you got back there? I mean, those just random Michigan things, or there's something memorabilia-wise back there that you got? Trophies, bus, tickets.
Oh, Danny, I wish I had, I got this.
There you go, Scar. Let's go. Let's see what you got.
Danny, I got this Afghan here. Okay.
Let's see it. Yeah.
You see this thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it.
My mom and dad used to go to games, and they were, my mom was always cold. My sister made my mom this thing was all over. I still got it. This thing is, it's old. It's been all over.
Been to a lot of Michigan games.
Yeah, she went to that thing is old. My sister actually made it, and that thing was in a lot of different Big Ten stadiums. My brother played. I'm going to get the other one for you next. My brother played at Illinois, so my friend's mother made a blanket with Illinois on one side and Michigan on the other.
I love it.
Yeah, so I got to bring that one out for next. But this thing has been all over the place, and Mom wore it. And they're up in heaven now, Mom and Dad, but that thing is still here, and it ain't going nowhere.
Well, hey, that's the best memorabilia minute that I've had so far. So, Scar, I love it. Any final thoughts as you think about this game here as it is rapidly approaching? We got Thanksgiving, we got Black Friday, then we got Michigan, Ohio State for the 117th time here. You're picking Michigan by 1 point. So, your final thoughts here on what you might see out there and how it's going to go down on Saturday.
Hey, our guys got to make big plays in big games. We need those big catches we had last week. We need the big punt, the punter to drop in dimes, put it on like he punted against Wisconsin. We just got to have big plays in big games. Danny, I just looked at the weather report. We got blue skies Saturday up in Ann Arbor. It's all blue. But I'm picking Michigan 31-30. We're going to kick a field goal with 35 seconds left. They're going to drive it down and miss a 50-yarder. Michigan goes to the championship game.
Pretty specific there. I'm going to make a pick on Friday, so I'm going to punt till then. Scar, I wish you happy Thanksgiving and a great Black Friday and a tremendous Saturday. Hopefully it turns out as you're predicting.
Go Blue!
There he is, Jim Scarcelli joining us here. Thanks for watching.